Now, our whales introduction, we take care of 5 killer whales here at Seaworld San Antonio. We have in the pool closest to me, I'm over here. We have the 2 males, Cayuga and Tuar. And in the pools over there, we have the 3 females, Takara, Sakari, and Kamea. Now, some other things I'd like to initially share about our stadium here is a quick overview of our facilities. Our facilities, we have 3 larger pools and a small, what we refer to as a medical or husbandry pool. Our facility is 4.5 million gallons of man-made salt water. We have a team of water quality specialists that check our water throughout the day. And we have a team of maintenance divers that help to contribute to our cleaning of our pool on a regular basis. Now we will be talking in a little bit more depth about specifically care and welfare and research, as in a few moments we will be doing some sessions with the killer whales to give you guys a glimpse of what a normal day looks like here at Orca Stadium. So while our trainers get situated, I'm going to hop off of the microphone for a moment. And if you guys have any questions, any of the trainers around the pool, we would love to chat with you guys. So everyone enjoy. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to BEACAME teams at Orca Stadium for Inside Look. Like Carrie said, we're so excited to have you guys here. My name is Malin. I'm also a senior trainer. One of many trainers who help take care of these amazing killer whales. And we are so excited to share with you guys all that goes into the care of our pod of 5 killer whales and how that care is actually directly helping their wild counterparts who are facing many challenges in the ocean. So we're actually going to get started. Alright guys, we are about to hang out with Cayuga and Tuar, who are very, very large individuals. Cayuga is actually the largest killer whale that lives here. He weighs 9,640 pounds as of yesterday. And we know that by asking for that weight that you guys saw just earlier with the females. So knowing the weight is very, very important because our management and veterinary staff work together very closely to make sure that we're providing the appropriate diet for each individual. So each animal that lives here has their diet. So we don't just kind of share, one big bucket. They each have their food weighed out specifically for them. Just like us. Killer whales can have different metabolisms, and they can change throughout their lifetime. So getting that weight regularly is a good way for us to make sure that when they're younger, they're growing at an appropriate weight. And when they're older, they're relatively maintaining a weight. So as trainers, we make sure that that's information we're able to get through the training. And then we share that information with our staff to make sure that we know not just how many pounds of fish, but how many calories each individual should be getting. So if you think about fish, right, so it has different content and it comes from different seasons. So every time we get a shipment of fish in, we actually do an analysis to make sure that we know the calories of that batch or lot of fish. And that's important because maybe last year's Caitlin is maybe calorically different from this season's. So we keep a close eye on that because again, it's not about the pounds, it's not about the number of fish. We want to make sure that they're getting the specific caloric needs of medicine. Alright, you guys might watch out. We're going to displace a little bit of water here. There he is, guys. There's Cayuga, the biggest killer whale that lives here. Now, I do want to talk about, I always get questions about that dorsal fin on their back. You guys probably noticed on the females that they had pretty nice straight dorsal fins. Now, Cayuga and Tuar do have collapsed dorsal fins, and it's important to recognize, many people don't realize that the dorsal fin is not a part of the skeletal structure. So that means that there's no bone and no muscle. So it's not a part of the body that they have control over. It's actually made of a very dense, fibrous, connective tissue. And so essentially what it's the best to compare it to is it's kind of similar to cartilage. So if you guys touch your own ears, ear just really apart. But you can, move them, you can fold them over. Now your ears are a lot smaller, and in fact, the dorsal fin of a male killer whale can be up to 6 feet tall and weigh 150 pounds. So just imagine if that was the size of your ears. So we've actually measured the Cayuga and Seaworld's dorsal fins, and Cayuga's is 5 feet and 6 inches, which is literally as tall as me. And I am not talking about from the ground. I'm talking about from his back to the end of that dorsal fin is my height. And so without any bone, without any muscle, without any control, gravity definitely plays a part in causing that to kind of roll over to one side or the other. And then over time, it's just going to continue to grow that way. And they don't have a way to lift it back up or change that. And so we get a lot of questions of how does it affect them, right? And so that's a very important question that we definitely pay attention to. And it's important to recognize the purpose of the dorsal fin. There's two main theories that we want to watch for. And one is that it's going to provide some stability in the water. So when they're hunting and making those sharp turns, chasing their prey, it's probably going to help them be a little bit more agile. And so for our killer whales here, we're not too worried about that, right? They're getting the exact amount of calories they need every day. And then the other thought is that that is creating a lot of space for them to thermoregulate or maintain their body temperature. And so whether it's straight up or turned over to the side, it doesn't really affect that either. The one thing we do see is that they seem to maybe have a harder time exfoliating the skin underneath. And so killer whales, actually all cetaceans, whales and dolphins, they exfoliate their skin much faster than you or I do. We are losing skin cells every single day. They are as well, just at a much faster rate. Now we will provide different environmental devices and changes that allow them to rub. So we have high pressure water sprayers that we see them play in, different toys that they'll rub against. So that's a very natural behavior that they engage in here as well. We have noticed it's a little bit harder to get underneath that dorsal fin. So Cayuga and Seaworld every single day gets their sponge bath, essentially. We take a loofah, just like you would find at HEB or Target, and use in the shower. We use that to make sure that we exfoliate underneath there for them. Now, why that happens, besides, mentioning that it doesn't have any bones or muscle, seems to be related to gravity, right? But it doesn't happen to all killer whales. It does, however, happen out in the wild as well. We don't normally see many pictures of that, but they are out there. And really, killer whales are pretty incredible and very adaptable. And what that means is that they're pretty much going where the food is. So where they spend most of their time can be a factor in how much gravity is playing a role on that dorsal fin. So a perfect example is in New Zealand. The killer whales have a specialized way of hunting, and they eat stingray. Now stingray hang out in relatively shallow water. So those killer whales are spending a lot more time in shallow water or at the surface than perhaps the population that hunts mostly squid deep underwater. So without the support of the water, as we spend most of their time at the surface, that's going to affect whether that dorsal fin can collapse or not. And so what they have found is that population that hunts stingray, 23% of their population has collapsed dorsal fins. There you go, we're giving this extra little rub down there. There's some of those vocalizations. We do get questions about how they make those sounds. If you guys are watching them, their mouths aren't really open when they make those sounds, and the sounds are actually coming from their blowhole. It's a combination of them manipulating the blowhole, kind of like you could change a balloon and let air out slowly or faster, and phonic lips, which are similar to vocal cords, but they're found in their nasal passageway, and they're able to make so many different sounds. And again, if you missed it earlier, acoustics are incredibly important to killer whales. It's how they navigate their environment, how they can hunt and find prey, and also how they communicate with one another. So we've talked a little bit about husbandry behaviors, right? That was anything related to healthcare. So we train behaviors that allow us to get different samples so that our veterinary team and staff can make sure that we're maintaining the best health possible. There's a lot more that goes into taking care of killer whales or any of the animals that live here at Seaworld, and just providing those samples. Another part of their physical health is exercise. So if you guys wanted to live a healthy lifestyle, having a healthy diet, going and seeing your doctor regularly, hopefully you're also exercising. And so that's something else that's a part of our regular everyday here at ORCA Stadium. So maybe later on you guys will join us again for a presentation, and in that presentation you'll probably see some high energy behaviors. Perhaps aerials when they jump completely out of the water, or fast swims, anything that's taking some extra effort to really use those muscles and get that heart rate up. Now that is, again, it's great to be able to share with you. It's such an incredible way to share with our guests how magnificent these animals are. But even on days when our guests are not here, we are still doing those same behaviors because that provides exercise for the whales. There's actually research where they studied the heart rate of the killer whales. And just for reference, if you guys see those silver buckets around the edge of the pool, that is about the size of Cayuga's heart. So it's pretty large, and to get that heart rate up for an animal that's very, very strong and very endurance, we found that they needed at minimum 6 minutes of high intensity activity to get their heart rate up. And then of course we have to maintain it for a little while for it to really count as exercise, right? So out in the wild, animals are mainly looking for food all day, so hunting, long distances to find food is going to provide that exercise that they need, right? Get their blood pumping to allow them to use their muscles. Now here, we want to make sure that we're still giving them those same opportunities to engage in natural behavior. So again, those fast swims are incredibly important. Those high energy aerials are very, very important. And so we want to make sure that those behaviors stay fun and engaging, because just like you guys have a choice to exercise, these guys have a choice to exercise as well. And so we want to make sure that we're making those sessions and that time really engaging so that we can make sure that they're getting the care that they need. Absolutely. Casey's demonstrating one of the ways we can do that. Again, relationship is the foundation of all of the care that goes into any of the animals here. And one of the things that Cayuga seems to really enjoy is that jello toss. So we spend a lot of time with them making sure that we know them as individuals. We know the things that they seem to engage in on their own or really enjoy. Because again, it all comes down to that choice. And if they're not choosing to come hang out with us, then how are we supposed to make sure they get their exercise, or we get that blood sample to take care of their bodies, or even their cognitive health, right? All right, so some other behaviors I mentioned earlier, we do lifelong learning, and that's another important part of their care. Perhaps as you guys get older, hopefully you continue to learn, or maybe you play games to help challenge your brain, right? And it's the same for the killer whale. So Cayuga is 31 years old. He has a huge repertoire, probably hundreds of behaviors that he's learned throughout his lifetime, many of which, like this fluke present, allow us to directly take care of their physical needs. But again, how can we continue to come up with new ideas to make sure that they stay challenged cognitively and stay interested and aware of their environment? And so as they get older especially, this is when it comes down to the creativity of the trainers. We have started to introduce concept behaviors. So in general, we use a lot of hand signals. We call it an XD, but it's a discriminative stimulus. So any way that they can recognize or perceive that usually means one thing. So a great example is we can ask them to jump in the center of the pool with a hand signal. That one hand signal means that one behavior. But one of the concept behaviors that we have introduced is an innovate behavior. So it's one hand signal, but it doesn't mean one thing. It actually means create. And so one hand signal, they can do anything they want. They just can't repeat themselves. And so obviously this is a great way to challenge their brains and to really get them thinking. And what's really neat is we've actually partnered with a researcher, professor from a university, and she came and watched videos of this training, and we were able to study creativity in killer whales. And they're doing this with other species as well, including bottlenose dolphins and sea lions. But it's a great way to kind of get a look at how creativity, how their thought processes work. So really, really fascinating stuff, and obviously as trainers who care for these kind of individuals, it's a lot of fun for us as well to see what they come up with. Another one that's relatively new is, and we call it Who Am I? And so it's one hand signal, but depending on which trainer uses for it, it means a different behavior. So normally, again, using that jump in the center of the pool as an example, Casey, who's currently standing in front of Kayuka, could ask for that, and he should do that, and then I could go do it. And as I build my relationship, he'll learn it's worth his time to go do that behavior. But this is a little bit different. So even though it's the same hand signal, it depends on who's doing it, what it means. So when Casey does it, he's going to roll over, and hopefully when Kylan does it, he's going to stick out his tongue. And this is a really great way for us to demonstrate that they are able to tell the difference and discriminate between trainers. Now again, this is incredibly important because our relationships matter with these animals. Casey has worked with the whales longer than I have, so she's going to have a stronger relationship with them. Just like you guys spending time with your family or friends, that quality time is very, very important. It's where trust is built, and it's how we learn about them. So we're always making sure to take time to invest in that relationship every single day as well. And this Who Am I behavior is another really fun, challenging way to provide for their cognitive health and to introduce something new and different, kind of like a game for them to engage in and get them thinking. So that has been a lot of fun as well. Looks like that high pressure water sprayer is on. And so I talked about that earlier. That's another example of environmental enrichment. So besides the toys that we can provide, we can also provide changes to the environment. And that can include sensory things as well. And so these high pressure water sprayers are a really great way to watch the animals engage in behavior. They'll usually use it to basically like a water massage, right? Now those high pressure water sprayers, also a couple years ago, we introduced a new aspect of that, and it was that they're now motion detected. We have the option to turn it on and keep it on, but we also have the option to change it to motion. And so there's cameras set up in a certain part of the pool where if there's movement, those water sprayers will turn on. And one of my favorite stories, and again, a great way to show some of the cognitive welfare challenges that we introduced, is we needed to teach them. So the water sprayers they knew, and had for a long time. But then we needed to show them that now there's a way for you guys to turn it on. And so what they did is the trainers trained them to spy hop, which is when they just flip their heads up and out of the water and sink back down. And they taught them to do that in the specific part of the pool. Oh, thank you again, to we're giving you guys a big goodbye there. Killer whale size. Thank you. So they train the whales to spy hop in that area to turn on that pressure sprayer, and again, this gives them the choice of when they want it on and when they want it off. But something really neat that we saw is once they figured the concept out, they changed the behavior. So they weren't limited to just spy hopping. They figured out it doesn't have to be a spy hop, it can be any kind of movement. And so we'll see them kind of going by and flicking their tails to turn it on. And to take it up another level, we see it turn it on for each other. So maybe Takara is hanging out in the water sprayer, and it's on a timer, so it's on for a few minutes and then it goes off. Well, we've seen Sakari go over, turn on the water pressure sprayer for her, and then Sakari goes about her thing, and Takara gets to keep enjoying the water sprayer. Again, all of these behaviors are providing the care that we need for these 5 killer whales. But because of everything we're able to learn from them, we're able to help care for killer whales out in the wild as well. That creativity research study with the innovative behavior is a good example. Another really popular question we get is, how old are they and how old can they get? And so that is such a difficult answer to come up with because it varies, right? We can only really know an average. And then what does that average even mean? Even if you think about people, right? So is it an average for everyone in the world? Is it an average in the United States? An average for men versus women? And it's the same with the killer whales. So the most recent study, if we look at all killer whales everywhere, that number came back at about 43 years old. And so again, our oldest is 32 and our youngest is 9. So we'll hopefully be caring for killer whales for many, many years to come. Did you guys catch that? So Takara actually just peed in a cup. That's right, if you guys weren't quite able to see, Carrie went ahead and showed her a small sample cup. And that's just like you would see at the doctor's office. And then she asked her to slide out on her side, and she started urinating, and we were able to capture a sample of that urine. Now this is another one of those husbandry behaviors that we train. Husbandry is anything related to healthcare. Make sure that we're caring for them, their physical bodies, as well as their cognitive welfare. So there's a lot that goes into that. And just like you guys should be going to the doctor every year for your annual physical, right? Just a checkup, just to make sure everything's staying normal. These whales have a monthly physical. Now we can't take them down to the veterinary office, right? So the vets come to us. We actually have a team of veterinarians that work with. And so scientists we're working on, is there information from that we can tell that will allow us to age killer whales out in the wild? And so that
Hey Jacob, it's good to see you. I'm good, how are you? Hey Jacob, can I ask you a question? Okay.
To determine age.
I've been getting this question a lot and I have no idea what the answer is. So why can't the males and the females swim together in the show?
So, great question. It's something we're working towards. So I would say having the 3 females together, having our 2 males together,
time today to share with us
at
our inside look to learn more about the care of these killer whales. If you haven't gotten enough of them, we are going to have a presentation, I believe at 2 o'clock today, and another inside look at 3 o'clock. So hopefully you will join us again. There are other inside looks going on throughout the park, so we hope that you'll visit those as well. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day at
Seems to be a little too much at the moment, and we're just taking those small steps to get there.
We do get that question quite a bit, and it's just, this is probably our most consistent setup. They seem to do very well when we have our females working together, and the boys.
I've seen, the only one that I've really seen is Tuar and Sakari, or maybe it was Kai and Sakari. But that was it. That was it. There was like one show, and I was like, oh whoa.
There was, I want to say, when I first started, back in early 2022 with these guys, we used to have I started where Tuar was with Takara and Kamea, and we called them little peas in a pod because they would just kind of hang out together.
It was so
It
little.
was real special.
Yes.
I was with Sakari at that time. So
Oh, that's awesome.
varying their social structure, it's enrichment, and it's so important. We want to
Right.
make sure we're still stimulating. We don't want this to always be the case where we have our
Correct.
females and males together, but we're working towards it.
No,
Working hard.
I think it works. I think it's good. I love
More
it.
so than anything, in
Yeah.
our off season, that's when we make a lot of those decisions because we have just the whole entire day to dedicate to. Okay,
Yeah.
they're swimming together. Here's a lot of reinforcement. Here's some toys.
Very
here's
good.
Here's all the things you like. So
Completely.
maybe in January we'll start to play around with it.
We'll see.
Question. Any others?
No, that was it. Thank you,
Amazing. You're
Jacob.
welcome.